You know that feeling when people start laughing the moment you stumble? When your mistakes become their entertainment and your silence becomes their proof that you're finished? Yeah, I know that feeling too, but let me tell you something powerful. They laughed when you fell because they thought the fall was the end. What they didn't realize was that God was just beginning the best chapter of your story. See, people's laughter doesn't define your destiny, God's timing does. When you fall, when you lose everything, when the world stops clapping, that's when heaven starts moving. Sometimes God lets you trip because he needs to change your direction. Sometimes he lets people walk away so he can show you who really belongs. And sometimes he lets the world count you out so he can prove that only he can count you back in. Your fall wasn't a failure. It was a setup. That heartbreak, that rejection, that closed door, it didn't destroy you. It positioned you. You just didn't know it yet. Every painful ending, every sleepless night, every lonely morning. It was all building you into the version of yourself that could handle what's coming next. And what's coming next? That's the part that's going to make every laugh, every doubt, every betrayal worth it, let's be honest. Falling hurts. It breaks your pride. It shakes your faith. It makes you question if you're even capable anymore. But that pain, that's the pressure that builds power. That silence, that's where your faith gets its voice. When nobody believes in you, when the support vanishes, that's when you finally realize that all you ever needed was inside you, and that God never left. Think about this. A seed doesn't grow in light, it grows in darkness. It doesn't complain about being buried. It trusts that the soil is doing its job. That's you right now. You're not buried, you're planted, you're not forgotten. You're being prepared. The darkness is not punishment. It's development. And when it's time for you to rise, no one will be able to stop what God brings out of you. People laughed when you fell because they thought they understood your story, but they didn't see the author. They didn't see who was holding the pen. And that's what makes a divine comeback so powerful. No one can predict it. They'll look at you and say, "How did you get here?" And you'll just smile and say, "I didn't. God carried me." You don't need to chase validation anymore. You don't need to explain your journey to anyone. Your growth will speak louder than your words ever could when your comeback begins. You won't have to post about it, shout about it, or prove anything. Your peace will be your proof. Your glow will be your announcement. Your success will be your response. And here's what's really wild. Your comeback isn't even about revenge. It's about revelation. God isn't trying to make you look good. He's showing the world that his grace still works. That's why you went through what you did. You had to break so you could rebuild on a stronger foundation. You had to lose people so you could find purpose. You had to fall so you could rise in a way no one expected. So don't hate the fall. Thank it. Because it exposed your strength. It revealed your faith. It taught you that being overlooked was never rejection. It was protection. You're not behind. You're being refined. You're not losing. You're learning. Let them laugh. Let them underestimate you. Let them write you off, because the very moment they stop watching is the moment God will flip the script. And when he does, your rise will be so undeniable that even your doubters will say, "I didn't see that coming." You don't owe anyone an explanation for your process. You just owe yourself the discipline to keep going, keep building, keep believing, because your story isn't over. It's being rewritten in heaven right now. They laughed when you fell, but soon they'll see why you had to, because when God decides it's your time, no force on earth can delay your rise. And when that moment comes, every scar will tell a story, every tear will shine like gold, and you'll finally realize the fall wasn't your failure, it was your foundation. Your comeback was never delayed, it was divinely timed. What's wild? How quickly people form opinions about your life the moment you stumble. The second you fall, the whispers start. The laughter echoes. Suddenly, everyone becomes an expert on your story. Everyone thinks they know what your ending looks like. But here's the truth they don't see. People's laughter doesn't define your destiny. God's timing does. You are not where you are because you failed. You're where you are because God is still working. You're in process. You're being positioned. And while they're busy laughing at your fall, heaven is setting the stage for your rise. God doesn't move according to people's opinions. He moves according to purpose. And purpose takes time. Sometimes God will let you lose in public so he can build you in private. He'll let the laughter get loud. So when your comeback happens, everyone knows it wasn't luck. It was divine timing. You see, people laugh because they think the story is over. They think your loss is final, but what they don't realize is that you're still in the middle of your chapter, and God has a way of turning the very thing that humiliated you into the very thing that elevates you. You've got to stop letting people's reactions control your faith. You've got to stop measuring your progress by how others see you. They don't know what God is doing behind the scenes. They don't see the nights you cried but didn't quit. They don't see the prayers you whispered when nobody was watching. They don't see the strength it took just to get out of bed and try again. That's between you and God. That's sacred. And let me tell you something powerful. Sometimes the reason God delays your breakthrough is because He's protecting it. If He gave you what you wanted when you first asked for it, you might have lost it because you weren't ready yet. But now you've been through enough storms to appreciate the sun. You've fallen enough times to understand humility. You've been laughed at enough to know what grace really means. People will try to define you by your fall, but God defines you by your fight. Every setback you've endured, every moment you've doubted yourself, every time you got back up when it would have been easier to quit, that's what heaven celebrates. God's timing isn't slow, it's strategic. He's not ignoring you, He's aligning things. He's getting you ready for a blessing that won't break you this time. Think about it. Every great story has a pause. Every comeback has a waiting period. That's where most people give up, in the pause. But if you can hold on through the silence, if you can trust that what looks like delay is actually divine design, then your comeback is inevitable. Because what God started, He finishes, always. So when they laugh, don't get bitter, get better. When they mock your fall, remember this, they're only reacting to what they can see. But you serve a God who works in what they can't see. The delay is not denial. The laughter is not prophecy. The timing is not late. It's perfect. God's timing will make sense the moment it arrives. You've got to believe that the very place you fell is going to become the place you rise. The same voices that doubted you will witness your transformation. They'll have to watch as God turns your pain into power and your failure into fuel, because that's how He works. He flips humiliation into elevation. Don't rush what's unfolding. Don't try to prove yourself to people who aren't meant to understand you. Just keep moving, keep believing, keep preparing in silence, because when it's your time, and it will be your time, no one will be able to stop it. The same people who laughed will have no choice but to respect the glow-up God orchestrated. You're not behind, you're not forgotten, you're exactly where you need to be. You're in the setup phase of your comeback. And when the timing aligns, when heaven says, now, everything that was taken from you, everything you thought you lost will be restored, multiplied. So don't lose heart. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them think it's over, because soon the same laughter that tried to break you will turn into applause, not because you proved them wrong, but because God proved you right. You're not waiting on people's approval. You're waiting on divine timing. And when that timing hits, you won't just rise, you'll soar. You know what nobody likes to talk about? The fall. The failure. The moment everything slipped out of your hands. The part where your confidence cracked, your plans collapsed, and your faith started to shake. But here's what most people never understand. The fall was necessary to strengthen your faith and focus. You wouldn't have grown if you hadn't fallen. You wouldn't have found real strength if life hadn't knocked the air out of you. Sometimes the only way God can teach you how to stand is by letting you hit the ground. Because comfort never built warriors. Pressure did. Falling didn't mean you were weak. It meant God loved you too much to let you stay where you were. Think about it. The moment you fell, you lost control. You had no plan, no certainty, no map. That's when your ego broke, and that's exactly when faith started to grow. Because real faith isn't built in the victory, it's built in the valley. It's built when you've got nothing left but a whisper that says, keep going. It's built when everyone else walks away and you still believe something good is coming. You see, God doesn't test your faith to destroy you. He tests it to develop you. Every fall is an invitation to look up, not give up. And when you finally stop asking, why me, and start asking, what is this teaching me? That's when everything begins to change, because the fall stripped away distractions. It forced you to focus on what truly matters, your purpose, your peace, your connection with God. When you were on top, it was easy to lose sight of that. Success can be loud, comfort can blur your clarity. But when you fell, that's when the noise stopped. That's when you started listening again. The fall humbled you, but it also reintroduced you to yourself. The real you, the fighter, the dreamer, the believer who refuses to quit even when everything hurts. Every person with a comeback story has a fall. You can't rise strong without first falling hard. That pain, that confusion, that heartbreak, it was God's training ground. He wasn't punishing you, he was positioning you. He wasn't breaking you, he was building you. Because if he hadn't shaken your world, you would have settled for less than what he planned for you. You needed to fall so you could stop relying on people and start relying on purpose. You needed to fall so you could see who was real and who was temporary. You needed to fall so your priorities could shift from impressing others to becoming who you're meant to be. The fall was never meant to end you. It was meant to elevate you. So stop regretting the fall. Stop replaying what went wrong. Start realizing what it gave you. It gave you strength you didn't know you had. It gave you wisdom you couldn't have learned any other way. It gave you focus. Because once you've been broken, you stop chasing things that don't build you. You stop begging for validation. You start valuing peace. You start protecting your energy. That's growth. That's purpose. Here's the thing. After every fall, you have two choices. Stay down or rise up stronger. Staying down feels safe, but rising up is where your story changes. Every bruise, every scar, every setback, they're proof that you survived something that tried to destroy you. You're not damaged. You're developed. You're not behind. You're being refined. And when you rise again, you won't just walk differently, you'll see differently. You'll look back and thank God for every closed door, every betrayal, every disappointment, because now you'll understand. None of it was wasted. He was teaching you to lean on faith, not feelings, to focus on what lasts, not what's loud. So don't curse the fall, bless it, because that was the moment everything started shifting. That was when your fake confidence broke and real strength was born. That was when God said, now you're ready. The fall didn't stop you. It woke you up. It pushed you out of comfort and into calling. It forced you to rebuild with intention, with faith, with fire. And when you rise, and you will rise, you'll realize that what was once your breaking point became your breakthrough. You may have fallen, but you didn't fail. You may have lost some things, but you found yourself. The fall wasn't the end. It was the beginning of your transformation. Because sometimes God has to let you fall apart, so he can put you back together stronger, sharper, and more focused than ever. You know what's funny about doubt? It always gets loudest right before your breakthrough. Everyone's got an opinion about your life. They'll doubt your choices, your dreams, your timing, even your silence. They'll say, you're done, you had your chance. But you just wait, because your comeback will silence every doubt without you saying a single word. You don't have to argue with people who can't see your vision. You don't need to convince anyone to believe in you again. The best way to answer doubt is with results. The best way to respond to noise is with action, because talk fades, but transformation, that speaks for itself. Right now, you might feel unseen. You might feel underestimated, counted out, forgotten. That's fine. Let them forget. God does his best work in silence, while they're watching for signs of your failure. Heaven is shaping the foundation of your return. Because here's the truth. Real comebacks don't need announcements. They arrive so powerfully that even the doubters fall quiet. When life knocked you down, they thought it was permanent. They thought your story was finished. But what they didn't realize is that the fall was never fatal. It was foundational. You were being rebuilt, strengthened, tested. God wasn't punishing you. He was preparing you. Every delay, every rejection, every tear, it all had purpose. It was all training. And now you're about to step into a season where the strength you've built will do all the talking. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to explain yourself. You just keep moving, keep working, keep trusting. Because when God decides it's time for your comeback, no rumor, no lie, no doubt can stop it. Your progress will become undeniable. Your peace will become your proof. Your success will become your statement. People remember the fall because that's when they stopped paying attention. They saw the loss, but not the lesson. They saw the tears, but not the transformation. What's coming next isn't about revenge. It's about revelation. God's about to reveal what he's been doing while everyone else was doubting you. And when it happens, you won't have to say a thing. The results will speak louder than your words ever could. Think about it. Flowers don't announce when they bloom, they just show up, brighter, stronger, beautiful, and suddenly everyone notices. That's your comeback, quiet, steady, unstoppable. You'll rise, and the same people who once questioned you will have to watch in awe, not because you proved them wrong, but because you proved to yourself that faith was worth it. Every doubt that was thrown at you was fuel. Every you can't became the reason you did. And when you rise this time, it's not coming from ego, it's coming from experience. You've walked through the fire, you've carried the weight, you've fought the fear, and now you've got nothing to prove. Only purpose to live. Your comeback will be different because you're different. You've learned how to move in silence, how to heal in private, how to protect your peace and still show up with power. That's growth. That's strength. That's why you don't need to talk about it. Your energy will tell the story. And when it happens, when you walk into the room confident, calm, grounded, they'll feel it before you even speak. The same ones who doubted you will be quiet. The same ones who said you were finished will ask how you did it. But you won't need to explain. You'll just smile because deep down you'll know God did what only He could do. That's the beauty of divine timing. You don't have to force it. You don't have to defend it. You just have to keep showing up, trusting that the same God who let them doubt you is the same God who's about to display you. So don't waste time trying to convince anyone to believe again. Let your growth speak. Let your glow speak. Let your peace speak. The comeback that's coming is so powerful. It will silence every question, every judgment, every ounce of doubt, all without you saying a single word. Because when God moves, He doesn't make noise. He makes impact. And soon, your life, not your words, will make the loudest statement of all. You ever notice how the same place that broke you is often the one God uses to bless you? The same battlefield where you lost everything becomes the stage where you rise again. That's what happens when you trust the process. Because when you trust the process, the same place that broke you becomes your stage of victory. It doesn't feel like it while you're in it, does it? When you're standing in the middle of the mess, heart heavy, dreams shattered, faith shaking, all you can see is pain. All you can feel is loss. You're thinking, why would God let me go through this? Why would He let this place hurt me so badly? But here's what you don't realize yet. He's not trying to destroy you. He's trying to develop you. Every great story starts with struggle. Every purpose is born in pressure. You can't skip the process. You can't fast forward through the pain. Because the process is where God builds the strength you'll need for the promise. It's where your roots go deep, where your faith gets tested, where your focus sharpens. And when you trust that process, when you stay grounded even when it hurts, you start to see the purpose behind the pain. Think about it. That heartbreak that broke you, it taught you self-worth. That job that rejected you, it redirected you. That season that isolated you, it introduced you to the version of yourself you'd been running from. You didn't lose there, you learned there, and that's the key. The place that once hurt you becomes holy ground when you decide to rise again, when you trust the process. You stop fighting God's timing. You stop asking for shortcuts. You start understanding that delay is not denial, it's design. Because God doesn't skip steps. He refines you in every one of them. The broken season, that's where your character was forged. The waiting season, that's where your patience was born. The healing season, that's where your peace took root. And then one day, after all the tears, after all the doubts, after all the nights you thought you couldn't take another hit, you'll step back into the very place that broke you. But this time, you'll walk differently. You'll stand taller. You'll breathe deeper. You'll realize you're not the same person who fell there. You've been transformed by grace. The beauty of trusting the process is that it turns your pain into preparation. You don't just survive what broke you. You rise from it stronger, clearer, and ready to shine. The same ground that once held your tears becomes the floor you stand on with power. The same people who once pitied you will witness your peace. You won't even need to speak. Your growth will do the talking. Because when you trust God's process, nothing is wasted. Not one mistake, not one heartbreak, not one failure. He uses it all. He takes the ashes of your past and turns them into the anointing for your future. He'll bring you back to the same place, but not for pain this time, for purpose, for proof, for victory. You see, most people quit halfway through the process. They get stuck in the pain and never reach the promise, but not you. You've cried too many tears to give up now. You've come too far to walk away right before the breakthrough. The same ground that tried to bury you will soon bloom with everything you prayed for. Because the seed only grows when it's buried. And you, my friend, were never buried to die. You were buried to rise. So trust it. Trust every delay, every detour, every disappointment. They're not detours away from your destiny. They're directions toward it. God knows what he's doing. You might not see it yet, but one day soon, you'll stand in the very spot where you once broke down and realize, this is it. This is the place where I thought it was over, but it was actually the beginning. You'll look back and smile through the tears because the pain that once crushed you became the platform that crowned you. The same place that took your breath away with grief will take your breath away with gratitude. That's the power of trusting. The process. It transforms defeat into destiny. It turns wounds into wisdom. It makes your scars your story. And when it's all said and done, you'll see what God was doing all along, building a victory so great that the very place that broke you became the stage where you finally rose.